Welcome to the Business Growth Podcast. Today I'm here with Ian, the COO of Finvisor. Welcome to the show.
Nice to be here. Thank you, Leonard.
So tell us a little bit more. What do you guys do at Finvisor?
So at Finvisor, we are a full back office services company. We do everything from bookkeeping to payroll and HR to CFO and fractional advisory. So basically all of the finance and back office work that takes up founders' times that they could be selling or building the product, we'll take care of that for them. Start with very small companies all the way up to quite large companies that are Series B and beyond, and we can scale and handle any size.
Gotcha. And what would you say is the most common pain point that you guys help founders with?
Bookkeeping is the number one, I would say. And I would say that fundraising and dealing with boards and investors is number two. Overall, I think that there's a range and a spectrum of where founders are at from their finance acumen and abilities. We have some people that are purely scientific background that are starting a company the first time and don't know what a debit and credit are. And we have people that are ex-investment bankers that are building sophisticated models. Our goal is really to meet people wherever they are with the services that they need and at the level that they're at.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so tell me a little bit more, like if a company is looking to fundraise some capital, what's typically the first things that you guys do for them to get them set up to increase their chances of being able to do that?
Yeah, it always starts with the conversation to understand their business as much as possible. And we'll try to translate that into numbers, which takes the form of a financial model. So typically we'll come in, we'll start talking to the founder, we'll build out a financial model that really nails their business plan, analyzes the unit economics of their business, if they're cash flow positive and generating revenue, deals with all their expense and put together really detailed plans in terms of how they're going to execute, and then projects it out into the future so investors can see the trajectory that the business is going to head. So we'll always start with that to get a good understanding of what's going on from a finance perspective and show that we have a good plan. Then we'll look to put together a list for a data room, start to make investor introductions, and move on from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. And then what do you kind of find is usually the key things that stop people from like getting investors?
Yeah, some of the big things, obviously you have to have a great idea and be able to articulate the value that you're going to provide and create. That's the number one thing, is getting the story right. You can really lose investor interest by not having a solid financial story. So we see it a lot where people will come to us and they didn't spend the time to build out a financial model. They didn't really work through the unit economics, and they're just getting torn apart by investors. That's where we can kind of turn things around for them a little bit by working with them to figure out what the investors are going to ask ahead of time and create a really compelling vision of the future that they can present in terms of how their business is going to change the world.
Yeah, that's so true. I imagine, yeah, if you don't have that foundation, people aren't really going to want to invest into that.
It's hard to believe what people say when they haven't put that level of thought into the business and how they're going to spend the money that you're giving them as an investor. You want to know that there's a solid plan in place, that if I give you $1 million, what are you going to do with it? Who are you going to hire? How's that going to help us hit the next milestone and really be successful as a business?
Yeah, 100%. And then what are some of the goals that you guys are working towards for the rest of like the year?
So for Finvisor, we're like many companies that are out there looking to implement AI into our services and figure out the most effective way to do so. One thing with AI in finance in particular is accuracy is everything in finance. And it's not the type of business or industry where you can be off by a couple percent here or there and not be able to explain it, and that's okay. Our clients have a very high expectation that everything is done right as much as possible and at a high degree of quality. And we've implemented a lot of safety and quality checks over the years in terms of independent reviews, in terms of risk assessments, and so on and so forth. And so when we're thinking about implementing AI, we're really trying to think about how to do it in a methodical, measured way, where we're breaking down the individual processes that we have set up across the different verticals that we serve and different functional areas that we serve, and really trying to break those down to core components and figure out what needs a human and what can be done by AI. What makes sense to have AI take the first pass, and where do we need a human review? That's kind of how we're trying to break everything down. Our view of the world is that AI is not going to replace people, it's going to empower people. And so that's kind of what we're trying to build towards. We're leaning on technology that other companies are building, and we're building some stuff in-house as well.
Yeah, that's so true. Like in this space, you can't be off a little bit. It needs to be 100% accurate. Yeah, I remember that back in my day when I was an accountant as well. And then, So what are some of like the AI solutions that you guys have implemented so far? And then what's kind of like what's next in terms of what you're looking to implement?
Yeah, a lot of our partners, software partners that are out there are implementing AI on their own. So we have a bunch of clients that are in QuickBooks and Xero and Ramp and Rippling and all the big names. We're also partnering really closely with some of the newer age accounting systems that are out there, the Rillets of the world, the Puzzles of the world. They're all doing some really great things right now. And primarily what they're doing is looking to improve the process that they already build and leverage AI to do so. They're quite successful, especially the newer age ones. They're moving quickly. They're building on MPC servers where you can pull data from different data sources, and it's very very exciting. For us ourselves, we're doing that in addition to leveraging Claude and other different types of services in our own business practice. And so to do that effectively, the way that we look at it is every client when we're doing a close, there's similarities across the client, but it's a little bit specific to every client. Every company's a snowflake to the extent that they have their own processes. And so trying to figure out how to orchestrate that, we're building some internal tooling where we can essentially pull in Claude to do these steps in the process of our 50-step close process that we have. Some of those steps can be automated by Ramp. Some are going to be automated by a puzzle or a Rillet of the world. And it's just trying to kind of patchwork it all together right now because there's no single button you can push to have everything get done all at once.
Mm. So just giving it like specific instructions for every client of how things need to be done, basically.
Yeah, breaking it down, I would say, to the constituent steps that it takes to perform the close, to communicate with the client, and then figuring out the right tooling for each of those individual steps, whether it's an existing SaaS solution that we're using or whether it's something that we're building and we're using AI to build out a process.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the process a little bit of implementing something like that for myself as well, where yeah, each client has like slightly different things, and then yeah, just being able to have the AI do those slight differentiations for the task that it does.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, you have to, as you know, you have to be able to extract it up to the level of commonality and then at the same time be able to drill it down and provide the specific context. And
Yeah.
how you do that can be quite tricky. But
Yeah.
the individual client context is what we're finding, or I should say rather, what we're finding is that the individual client context is it's kind of everything with AI. If you give genericized instructions, you get genericized output, which oftentimes is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I find as well just keeping the instructions up to date as well, because sometimes like little things might change and then you forget for this one client to just go into the AI model and update that little instruction. So keeping your things updated as well as just is really important, I find.
Yeah, 100%. The context, the history, the systems that you're hooking into,
Yeah.
you get much better results when the AI is able to get all that at the same time and then also get instructions that match exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And then do you guys have any like growth goals for the rest of the year as well?
Yeah, so we hit our growth goal in June for the year.
Wow.
Been a good year so far, I would say.
Yeah.
So we've decided to double that growth goal since it took us 6 months to hit the first growth goal. But we might as well, for good measure, double it by the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's really a testament, I think, to some of the changes in strategy we made a few years ago. We have always delivered really high quality and always focused on having a great team. We just redoubled our efforts there. We've implemented so many quality controls, communication improvements, billing improvements, technology improvements, just kind of across the board. It was good before I started, but I'd say when I came in as COO, that's been a big part of my focus over the last 2 years. And we've definitely seen improvements, and we're starting to see it pay off in the form of better partnerships, people
Mm.
coming back and referring us more business, improved marketing. You kind of name it across the board, and it's showing up in the numbers now.
That's awesome. So just really increasing like the quality of a service that you guys offer to your clients.
Yeah, and trying to professionalize everything we do. I mean, I'm a proponent of make things better 1% every single day, and all of a sudden you look back and you've made things much much better. So that's what we've been doing. We find problems, we fix problems, we move on to the next problem, rinse repeat, and you kind of start to get a lot of growth.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And so is that like, are you guys doing any marketing activities or most of it just comes through like referrals?
So far it's been improved retention and referrals from really doing a great job. We're in process. We brought on a great fractional CMO, and we're in process of doing a whole rebrand, repositioning, talking to the world a little bit about how we're using AI, because people don't even know that we have these systems and we're so technology forward. They only find that out once they get with us. But if you look us up online, you would have no idea. And so it's missing from our messaging in terms of how we're getting out there with the world compared to some of our competitors who maybe overstated a little bit, in my opinion. And we want to get the right level of messaging to show that we are human first, AI powered, versus some of these pure AI plays that are out there that I think ultimately won't be successful, and it's not, at least right now, it's not the right time for that.
Yeah, yeah, still a while off. And then what would you say is like one of the things that's working really well for you guys in the business? I know you said before there's a couple of things you implemented, and then what would you say is one of the things that's not working as well as what you guys would like and that you guys are focusing on improving?
Yeah, I still think the focus on quality is really worked well for us. We always did a good job, but we instituted a completely separate quality division about a year and a half ago, where we hired a team that's outside of our regular team. They come in and they do risk assessments on new clients coming in. They do quality checks on the work that's being performed. We're constantly evaluating what's being done. Anytime there's a problem, they're coming in, looking at it, and getting a root cause. That team has really kind of pushed that quality ethos across the company. And I think that we're seeing that, as I mentioned before, in the growth, in the reduced retention, in the referrals. I mean, more and more partners are coming to us and saying, hey, these guys had a terrible bookkeeping and accounting experience. Can you help them out? We need the book straight. Whether that's lenders that can't trust the books that they're looking at, so can't give funds. Like, we're getting referrals from lenders like that. Just a quick plug, like Lighter Capital is one of our awesome partners that we're working with. And then, or it could be other types of venture investors that are out there that want to make sure that the books are clean and that their companies that they're investing in are getting the right guidance. So we're getting a lot of business that way, and it's primarily due to the quality. Something that's not working well. I mean, a lot of things are working well. I would say overall, there are certain things where we've tried different marketing approaches that haven't worked in the past. The one that comes to mind is the email outreach, where you blast 10,000 messages, or you work there's all these service providers out there, especially on LinkedIn. I mean, I probably get 5 messages a week saying, hey, we can create an email list, we can blast it out, we'll get you out there. For us, that's not the right approach. It's too impersonal. It doesn't convey our quality. I get that there's people out there that are going to blast 100,000 messages and be happy with the 150 they get back, but it's just not our style. And we tried it a little bit, and it just didn't feel right. It didn't work well. So we're back to more focused on value, customer reviews, building a marketing message that really conveys our value and strengths.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Depending, and also it depends on the approach. I imagine, like with like say like the marketing blast as well. Like generally, yeah, I find like you were saying, if it's like a cold direct pitch, generally these days it doesn't really work that well, and you'll get a very small percentage of people that actually respond to that.
Yeah, and I mean, I never say never. There's tasteful ways to do it. It might be something that we try again later, but for what hasn't specifically worked in the last 12 months, that's what I would say is trying to, and also trying to outsource it. I think that's maybe part of the problem, is that if we were to try to do it in-house, I think we have a better handle on our voice and how we prefer to communicate.
Yeah. Okay. And then how would you say like the industry is changing moving forward in terms of like what you guys do?
It's interesting with the new companies that are coming out in the accounting space. So the Rillets and the Puzzles of the world. I mean, they're not saying all your bookkeepers and accountants and CFOs go away. They're saying we power these people. I've been to some interesting meetings where they fully acknowledge that there's still humans that need to be involved. At the same time, as AI is progressing, it's becoming more and more capable. And there's certain types of roles that if you look into a crystal ball, you have a harder time seeing them being around, at least in the same way that they've been around for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So if you're talking about coding transactions, AI is just getting better and better at that. I saw a demo from Puzzle in a stat where they said after they've configured their system, I think it's 98% accurate at coding transactions. And it's because it's a very repeatable process. You tell it one time what to do, and systems can do that. So I think that that's going to change the industry pretty massively. Humans roles are probably going to move more towards judgment roles and being able to look at the output that comes out. Well, first off, I should say, decide what needs to get done, help set it up, and then look at the output that comes out and make judgment calls on it. in order to guide people. So I think there'll be a fundamental shift in terms of where finance focuses, in terms of not spending so much time on the backward looking stuff and more on the execution and forward looking activities.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's definitely what I've from other people I've spoken with. It's usually that as well. It's yeah, like no, less admin, repetitive tasks and more adding value, future looking tasks. So yeah, definitely. And then so let's say like with everything that's changing with AI, if you guys could get like a magic AI robot into your business tomorrow to do whatever task you wanted to do, what would you get that AI robot to do?
Uh, it's a great question. I mean, I think r- keep everything lined up. The orchestration is the really tricky part when you start to deal with complex businesses. And this is actually the piece that we're trying to build ourselves internally. I shouldn't say we're trying to, we are building it, and we're actually seeing a lot of success. Is there's so many different places that we touch when we're providing our back office support services, whether it's HR and Rippling, closing the books in QBO, working in Ramp, whatever systems we're using. It's just a sequence of steps that needs to get done, and they need to get done in a certain order. And there's people that need to get notified when certain things are done, and you have to be very, very diligent. And I think having a system that has AI involved that can help move through that process, can take certain things off off the plate of humans, can notify people when other things need to get done. I think that AI configuration, that bot, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be immensely valuable to us specifically in our function and what we perform.
So basically like an AI robot that notifies people when it's their turn to action something.
Yeah, that can do things and can help kind of guide the process to smooth it up. Ultimately, what we're trying to do with so many steps involved in completing your close process, for example, there's a time lag between every single step that slows things down. We're trying to get to a 0-day close. We're pretty good already. We're about day 5 close on average, which is pretty fast overall, I think. But there's still room to compress cycles. If you have an AI that can review 1,000 transactions in 30 seconds, and a person doesn't have to go through and spend 2 days, well, all of a sudden you've just cut a bunch of lead time out. Well, if it can do that and then notify someone and move on to the next step right after that, you've now cut a 4-hour window down to 10 minutes, those sorts of things. And so you just kind of compress until you get to continuous close. And then we're kind of living in a different world at that point in terms of how people interact with finance.
Yeah, 100%. And it just frees up so much more time as well because the thing is you do it every single month. So if you
Yes.
get five extra couple hours every single month, it compounds by the end of the year. So yeah, I can definitely
And you
imagine.
multiply that across hundreds of clients. I mean, all of a
Yeah,
sudden, you can start investing these hours that we're spending. The hours ultimately translate to dollars. Rather than spend the dollars on the backward looking stuff that's just a matter of compliance, you can start to spend those dollars on the forward looking things that really help you figure out the strategy, invest in different places. What are we going to do and get better quality over there? So we see the budget shifting from more of this routine type work to the forward looking, how do we actually operate this business more efficiently type work.
yeah, 100%. I know we're starting to run out of time here, so let's finish on like what are some of like your top book or books?
So I read a lot of articles about AI. I would say overall, in terms of books, what's a good one? I mean, I really like Guns, Germs, and Steel was a history book that I read a little while ago. It's an older one, but it just kind of explains how society got to where it is today. It's not too crazy or anything like that, but it just kind of sort of walks you through technological advances and how we are where we are right now. And that's probably one. It's an oldie but a goodie. There's lots of entrepreneurship books that are good as well that I've enjoyed. I'll post them up on LinkedIn or something when I think about it.
No worries. Yeah, I always find it interesting, just like or just like learning new books for me to read as well, because I read quite a lot. I love like Audible books, so whenever I'm just doing something that I don't need to focus on, like driving, walking to the gym, cooking, cleaning, usually I've got like an audiobook in, so it's always interesting to see what other
So
people are.
don't make me think, and I can't remember who the author is a great one on UX. It's about 20 years old, but conceptually I really enjoyed that one.
Mm.
Um, the Four Steps to the Epiphany by Steve Blank, who's a startup guru from out here that teaches at Stanford and Cal. That's a really good one in terms of launching a business. There's I liked all the Dune books too, so Those are fun. I listened to those all in audiobook, which was about 140 hours.
The Doom books?
Dune.
Dune. I'm actually reading the first book right now.
Yeah, they get weird.
Really? Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah,
been like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in it.
yeah. If you keep
Um,
reading, a lot of stuff keeps happening. Let's just put it that way.
okay, all right, I'll stay tuned.
I had a 3 hour commute, so I was looking to kill time for a while.
Yeah, okay, nice. Yeah, that'd be good then. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. Where can people go to learn a little bit more about you and like what you guys do?
Yeah, they can go to LinkedIn to find me, Ian Ranahan on LinkedIn, or they can go to our website, www.finvisor.com. Those are probably the main places I would recommend.
All right, cool. Well, I'll include those links in the show notes below. Appreciate you coming on. You guys have been listening to the Business Growth Podcast. Until next time, keep growing.